Come on. You're one of the most influential journalists in the area. You've received a series of letters from someone calling himself Mystery Man Extraordinary. Extraordinaire. After reading one that was nothing more than ramblings, begging for an interview, you quickly dismissed the whole pile and... Oh, geez, Louise, I just looked at that cross-eyed. Dismissed the whole pile and put the thought of the man out of your mind. Your first mistake, press F to proceed and continue dialogue. Click on the highlighted object for the dialogue. Some options are timed. Who are you? Question stammers out rapidly as if your baser instincts already understood the dynamic that would soon unfold between you and the figure. One of prey and predator, the masked figure stands across from you, waiting, poised, lurched forward as if ready to jump out at any moment. Finally, they speak. Hi! Finally, you're awake. You must be a little confused. I suppose I should handle introductions. I am the one and only Mystery Man Extraordinaire. I do apologize if I have frightened you. Have I frightened you? Whatever. That won't do, that won't do. I thought you'd operate easier under situations of stress. For someone holding you hostage, the Mystery Man Extraordinaire spoke with an awfully jovial tone. Its hands drummed at its side for an awkward moment before speaking again. Can I get you anything? Coffee, tea, perhaps? I need you in good a state as possible before we start the interview, after all. God, somebody please help me. Why are you doing this? What do you mean? Interview? The figure's head jerked slightly to the left. That is right, if we're looking at it from his angle. It's almost impossible to tell from the expression hidden underneath, and they murmur something under their breaths as they slowly begin to approach you. Now, curious. Did you not receive my letters? Your mind jumps back and your stomach lurches, and nausea overwhelms you and everything finally clicks. Piles of letters and demands for an interview. Perhaps you should have read more than just the first letter before throwing the whole thing aside. I'm just gonna be honest. What is so wrong of you to assume that honestly might save you from the clutches of this masked madman? Something in them ticks underneath their cowl raged against the bubble and froth until it came rushing forward in a tidal wave of anger? Pardon? The Mystery Man Extraordinary laughed for a moment as if bewildered by such a notion. Before they let out a guttural cry, you suddenly feel cold metal pressed up against your forehead as the figure slowly towers over you in manic defiance. You, I spent so much time preparing for you. You threw it away, my time, my care, my preparations. You're useless now. You must already think of me as some sort of freak. The safety clicks. Trigger finger tightens. You're ruined. I can't in good faith have an interview with someone who already sees me in such a bad mood. I'll find another. Yes, I'll find someone else. Someone better. Sorry, I have no longer use for you now. Goodbye. You can't have time shit that quickly. Allow the interview. Game stuck. So your lie hangs in the air for a moment. A misdirection and attempt to disguise the reality that likely send your kidnapper into a frenzy. To look at you, head tilting. They attempt to parse your sentence to decipher the truth. Silence falls. The extraordinaire but carefully begins to question you. You never received my letters? How strange, I could have sworn. I'm certain I sent it to the right address. That damn receptionist of yours. They must have. You awful feeling that you might have accidentally sent your masked kidnapper a new target after the interview. For the time being, at least, the Mystery Man Extraordinary has bought your lie. So sorry you've not been prepared at all for this time, and that explains everything, right down to the awkward way you've been squirming around in your seat. Let me explain then, because your reports of journalistic prowess and your status within the network, I was hoping you'd be willing to sit down for an interview with yours truly. You must have been so frightened when I woke you up, poor thing. Hope you're still willing to continue with our interview. They make a movement, reach something out of their pocket. Anywhere the refusal will get caught in your throat. Any concern coming from this masked madman will nothing more than a faux attempt to be polite, as he felt it was in your best interest to keep them appeased. If you'd like to leave within your life. Nod your head to them. Good, let's begin then. Disappearing behind the curtains for a moment, the mystery man extraordinaire reappears with a camera and a chair. After hitting according to the camera, they plop themselves down in the chair now placed in front of you. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and those exist in the Technicolor rainbow in between. The one and only mystery man extraordinaire, but you can call me Blank. It's good if you had to refer to as Blank, as they're awfully long titles throughout this interview. You might have gone crazy. I'm glad you could join us for the show. Anyway, the floor is yours, journalist. Your eyes now land on a question mark embedded on Blank's mask. You find yourself raising an eyebrow. For all the fame and fortune, why was he so desperate to stay hidden? Why, Mr. Man Extraordinaire? There's nothing wrong with having some flair, is there? Nowadays, things are so gritty, so real. You must understand how often do you report on some sort of tragedy, some horrid accident, some war occurring in places you don't see. People at the end of the day just want to be entertained, just want a distraction. Am I not perfect fit for the role? How long do you think you can keep people entertained? I pardon? Clearing their throat, Blank laughs awkwardly. Question drumming his fingers against his leg as he attempts to answer. I suppose, well, everyone has an expiry date. I'm hoping at least 20 years. That feels like a good amount of time to leave in the public eye. Yeah. I'd like to be timeless when I'm no longer capable of performing the old song and dance. A masked enigma can dream. Your eyes now land on a question mark embedded on Blank's mask, and you find yourself raising an eyebrow. Why would he desperate to stay hidden? Let's keep going. Your eyes hover over the empty seats and you look back to the Mr. Man Extraordinaire. You're able to glean something from his persona, made hidden behind the interview in a theater to an empty crowd. Do you have anybody? No, that'll send us. Do you have anybody that'll send us into death? Are you noting all the fan base? Blank seems to perk up a bit of your question. Leaning forward in their chair and placing their hands on their knees, the four start parroting out a response. Fan base. What's with you at? I frequent. Hold on. I frequent the sites online, and people like to take photos of me as I walk across the street. Usually cameras don't roll up until I start screaming, but after that I achieve easy virality. An image of a mystery man extraordinaire harassing some poor old woman on the streets of your mind. For a second, it's difficult to compare the image with a gun-toting psychopath set across from you. Did something change? Is this some sort of stunt? Partly, everyone loves a good suspense story. After all, once we finish this interview, and I disappear from sight once again, I'll have the whole world looking for me. If it goes well enough, I might find myself repeating it. Create our own talk show. I could come on for a weekly appearance and answer questions from my adoring fans. You wouldn't mind hosting, would you? I'll promise to patch you up if you get shot. What? I don't want to get shot. It probably seems like a good idea to tell Blank that running a talk show for his insanity is probably the one thing you would mind the most right now. Even with every incredibly generous offer to patch you up, repeating the nightmare scenario wasn't all too high on your bucket list. Huh? Your eyes get caught in the glare of the spotlight, being so harsh that you're forced to wince and blink. No still anything in your vision. So the show does prefer attention. He's trying so really good. Why do you hide yourself? That might be a good question. That was not a question I was expecting. I'll indulge you just this once, but if you toe the line again, you'll find yourself regretting it. Another pause, Blank squirms into set for a moment. You can't help gain a slight sense of satisfaction when watching a madman feel even a fraction of level of stress. Anonymity is freeing. I can be whoever I want, say whatever I say. There's no worries and anxieties to come with it. Ooh. There's no greater feeling than being remade from the ground up, casting aside who you once were, to be born as something new. I could be anybody. Every time you pass a person on the street, every time you talk to your local cashier, I could be that person and you'd never know. You'd always be suspect. Your heart lurches in your stomach for a moment. The sinisterness of Blank's tone hitting some sort of depravity that you hadn't yet thought of. If I manage to stay alive, will it really be the end of it? Sensing the lull, conversation Blank awkwardly coughed for a moment before picking up the slack once again. And it makes for an interesting personality. Everyone wants to know. That's why we love murder mysteries, detective cases, and so on and so forth. Why wouldn't you want to be the most engaging person you can be? Finally, dust settles. Blank sits back in his chair. For a moment, the camera continues to work. Alright, I believe that's the interview concluded. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure. Finally, you breathe a sigh of relief. Thankfully, the summer manager survived the god-awful interview. Though in a moment you take a breath, you find yourself sinking in once again as you struck the realization that you serve no use to this masked figure that's kidnapped you. Gritting your teeth, you wait with a bated breath as Blank tucks the camera in his pocket. After putting everything away, he finally turns to you. Don't worry, I've contacted local authorities. They'll be coming to pick you up shortly. Of course, I'll be long gone by that point, so I'll make sure to send you a copy of the interview once I've got it all ready. Finally, I'll make my grand debut. Goodbye, journalist. It's been fun. I truly hope your career benefits from this as much as mine does. Let him leave. Anger wells up in your system as you watch the Mr. Man extraordinary start to leave. Part 2, you want to scream, to fight, to do anything in order to deliver some well-earned justice to the psychopath. You can't muster the courage. The thought of death looms over you in the head. Blank didn't lie, however, the authorities did eventually come to collect you after weeks of investigation and interrogation. No suspect was found to identify. Eventually, you were sent a copy of the interview, which was hardly different from the experience you endured. Every moment you were there, you were threatened or harmed on camera, perhaps in order. Okay. I'm just gonna let it roll out. You do go. Oh my god. Looking through the street. Oh my god! How long is this? Wait. But the other one was ending 1 out of 8. Huh? Oh boy. You know what, that was interesting. I've never played, I don't think I've played a game like that in a while. So that was